Hey everybody, welcome to Fireside Yarns. My name is Dava, and with me as always is Reese and Vinno. How are you going, lads? How you going, Reese?
Fantastic, mate. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Yourself, Vinno, how are you going?
Yeah, getting there, man. Bit crook this week. Bit crook. Came down with a bit
Been
of
a week for it.
Yeah, man. Got absolutely smashed by a bit of a virus. It's not the Rona, but yeah, knocked me for fucking 6 for sure. That's So I'm a bit nasally tonight.
I had a couple of days ago. I had me second Michelle Pfizer, and man, just like Catwoman, just like our character Catwoman, she whipped me ass, you know. But, I'm back now, and I got my armor on like in the video games, and I'm ready to take on the coronavirus.
Yeah, nice, man.
100% health. So that's... How you, Reese? How's your health this week? Because I'm going through what you went through last week, really.
Yeah, man. I've been pretty good this week. I can't complain. But yeah, the old Pfizer Manelli got the best of you, eh?
Yeah, mate. Well, now look, as we were, this is I guess physical health that's giving us the L1-2. But this episode today is a bit more a bit different. It's about mental health. And it's a very special episode, guys, isn't it? Because we've got a couple of friends we want to bring on.
Got a couple of very special guests. Guys that we hold very dear to our heart for a number of reasons. But it's going to be a big one, and I've mentioned it a couple of times in previous weeks, and for logistical reasons we had to push it back for a couple of weeks just with some of the production stuff, but finally here.
The time's right now.
It
is.
And look, as Vinno and Reese were saying, look, these are obviously very close friends, but they're also, I should say, people who have lived experience in this. And Josh, who you'll see, who you'll meet very shortly as well, is actually a lived experience advisor at the Black Dog Institute. So, without further ado, everybody, Josh and Liam Hewitt. How you going, guys? Welcome to Fireside.
Hey, how are you?
How are you? Mate, very good. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having
us. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, it's good. I'm excited to have this chat, and it's good to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for inviting us. Yeah, thanks for
Now, look, in the introduction there, I mentioned that not only are you guys obviously friends of ours, but you're and two people who have lived experience in this week's topic, which is mental health. Josh, you're actually a lived experience advisor for Black Dog Institute. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So it's basically just to break it down into the simplest terms. So Black Dog Institute and some of the organisations connected to it. So they're more, Lifeline and Beyond Blue, for example, they're a bit, they're a bit more service focused. So they have, counselling services and courses and things like that. But Black Dog Institute is more focused on research about how different groups can improve their service delivery. Different things that they will put to, health ministers, state and federal level, about how things are going. What's the temperature of state of mental health services in Australia? And it's essentially made up by a stack of mental health professionals and a bunch of scientists. And in their search, I guess, for more effective research, a lot of these, particularly some of the academics, might not have lived experience of their own, but they're in the field to try to work towards more comprehensive suicide prevention. So the idea is that they've really started to get people who have lived through a loss, or perhaps people who might have been on the edge themselves. And yes, I fill both those qualifications. So they will essentially just get my input on things from that perspective. Yeah.
So we didn't mention it at the start, but I suppose perfect time now that Josh has started or led towards it. Josh and Liam, I'll let you guys take over for more of the talk about him, but what Josh was referring to there in regards to living on both sides of it was our good friend and their brother, Jake, who passed away a few years ago, and that's where the boys really became active, I suppose, in this field, and one of the reasons why we got them on board. So, boys, do you want to just give us a brief rundown on Jake from your perspective?
You haven't said anything yet.
Don't know where to start. Where do you start with Jake?
Yeah.
I realise I'm the talker, but
Yeah, that's
you're
true.
here too.
Oh, well, let's, we've spoken briefly about it before, and one thing that I said then, and I still maintain, was I relate Jake very much to Robin Williams in the regard that he was that funny guy in the group, and that guy that none of us thought that we needed to worry about. Now, that was us as a friend group. Was that similar to him at home? He was very much that larger-than-life sort of character.
Yeah, of course. He was probably even more so at home. I would say. To the point of frustration.
I can't see that at all.
No.
I mean, it was a nightmare at times, but we loved it.
Well, you know how he would, I suppose, relentlessly take the shit out of you? Well, that wasn't an act. That was all the time.
Ruthless sometimes. But it's like all of us, I think, as well, we all had a nickname from Jake as well. Like even me, Dava, came from Jake making fun of the way me dad says my name. So he'd be like, Dava. And they'd be like, is your dad saying Dava? And then from that day on, he would just use my dad's accent and call me Dava. And then everyone just called me Dava, and that's my bloody name now.
The best was when he did it in the Scooby-Doo voice.
There's some good ones out there. Different mates he's had over the years.
Yeah.
Popped up. I think friend Adam Clements said, I don't know if you guys know him, but he said Jake used to call him Baghdadum.
Yes.
Yeah, but you're right, Vinno. He does fit, I guess, the classic mould of the classic stereotype might not be the right word, but the sad clown.
Yep.
Who perhaps in an effort to hide their own pain, they'll act out and not act out in order to hide their own pain, but they figure perhaps, and I share this a little bit, where if you can't take care of yourself and you're in the pits, then the next best thing, or perhaps even better, is to try to lift others up,
Yep.
make them smile, make them laugh.
It comes down to that old feeling that, you know, if you help somebody or you make them feel good, you feel good. But that's temporary to a degree, isn't it? Through the studies with Black Dog, is that sort of one of the findings that they've come across in regards to, you know, why it seems to be that sort of character, you know, the sad clown, as you mentioned. Is that one of the characteristics around it, or a focus on it, on some of their studies?
I've never seen anything specific, but it is something that some of their resident experts have mentioned.
Yep.
Particularly when I've spoken about Jake, and also how, that's something that I get out of it, is that I could be, monstrously depressed, but I'll still show up for these duties with Black Dog, because I can then go to bed that night and go, no matter how much my brain was telling me that day what a horrible shithead I am, and how I don't deserve the family I have, the job I've got, the place I live in, or anything, I'll go to bed going, yeah, but I helped.
Yep.
I helped today.
Made a difference. Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's
there's a little connection there, I think, with the humour side.
Yeah. I think it's also a big thing with depression and stuff, and especially with blokes in mind, is statistically, I think men obviously are known to bottle things up, and the rates for blokes in Australia especially is like 75% in comparison to women, and like you say, I've had times too, and I think the way that I've dealt with things is I generally recluse, and I try not to, because I get the feeling that I've become a burden to people, so I try and recluse, and I keep to myself, and it's so hard to push past that point of dragging yourself out of bed or dragging yourself out of the house and trying to do something to make yourself feel better. It's a huge battle, and obviously with those statistics, it's not just me or not just you, or there's a lot of people that are affected by it.
And I was going to say, and even when you can't drag yourself out of bed on those kinds of days, the ability to tell somebody about it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, there's no amount of self-help that's going to get you on your feet. And sorry, my guinea pigs are talking.
Get them in the
lovely.
chat.
Yeah.
Tried to overfeed them so they'd shut up, but apparently
all types of animals are welcome by the fireside.
That thing about,
we have Dave here, so
Yeah, local resident animal.
Introduce species. Well, sorry, what were you saying there? I think Josh finished up on Liam. You were about to say something, were you?
What Reese was saying about not being able to open up about it, and not being able to get yourself out of bed, not wanting to be a burden. I think most of us probably know that all too well. And the thing is that most of the time, as soon as you start talking about it with someone else, you start to go, "Oh, hang on, this makes a lot less sense outside of my head."
Yep.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And so that
You
was
just ruminate again and again in your head, and it's just bouncing off walls and getting worse. But
Yep.
the moment
Definitely.
you sort of speak up about it, you're like, "Oh, that doesn't make sense. I'm not really that much of a horrible person," or whatever.
Yeah. 100%.
that's an amazing. That's a really amazing antidote to anxiety as well, in particular, because anxiety can have us feeling very paranoid, and you'll a mate or a co-worker might be in a funny mood, something's affecting them, and you might, if you're feeling particularly anxious, you might see that behaviour and start going, what the fuck have I done? I've done something.
Yeah.
Oh, they're upset because clearly I've let them down somehow, or you're afraid that you're afraid of like the worst case scenario in any number of life situations. So speaking about it, or at the very least writing it down, and seeing it on the page in front of you, you can go, oh, it's almost like you can go, oh, that's definitely bullshit.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's definitely my brain just playing with me.
Yeah.
That's not real. Yeah.
That's the effect it has, though, isn't it? And this, one of the things that annoys me, and I'm sure it definitely annoys you guys in regards to, I'll use anxiety as an example, is the old additive of, oh, just calm down, just go and take a breath, or it's not how it works.
No, it's not.
And that's where I think the work that you do there, Josh, with the Black Dog Institute is huge in trying to. We've come a long way with education with mental health, but we've still got such a long way to go, and there's still a lot of can't even think of the word.
Stigma, isn't there? There's
that's right.
It's a stigma, but
Yeah.
there's it's ingrained in us a lot in a lot of ways, and getting past that, is is a big thing. So, and like you were saying, with the not being able to talk, and it's come up again in conversation a lot lately, is around the toxic masculinity and how that affects mental health. And I know that from my experiences as well, not wanting to talk. And that's one of the reasons why our numbers in Australia and around the world are so big with men, is that, that fear of feeling that you're less of a person or a man for going and talking. And it's a hard thing to overcome and a hard thing to break, and once again, one of those stigmas that surrounds mental health.
It's really like a really outdated part of Australian male culture.
Yep.
This perceived link between sensitivity and weakness.
Yep.
That a hard man can't be sensitive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or a good man, or an honourable man.
Yep.
Or can't ask for help. I mean, if you look, I think a fantastic example at the moment is Tyson Fury. I mean, this person, he dealt with depression, but he kept it in. And he kept telling himself as he was coming up as a boxer, if I become heavyweight champion of the world, I'll be the toughest man on earth. And then this will go away. I'll have everything I wanted. And when he beat Vladimir Klitschko, which no one thought he was going to do, that night he went home with the belts and it was still there.
Yep.
And he still wouldn't deal with it, and he ended up he couldn't defend the belts physically because of his mental health. His body deteriorated and his belts were taken from him, and he wouldn't deal with it. It was only when he decided, I need help, and he asked for help, that he was able to come back. And he is now still, and he's been honest with it, he's an advocate for mental health now, and you can see it in him. And he's now still the undefeated heavyweight lineal champion of the world. And I think I think that washes away the stigma a little bit. I mean, he is the baddest man on planet Earth, and he needs help, and he wasn't able to toughen it through it. Then I think we need to take a page out of his book and ask for help when you need to.
Yeah, you'll see, like, that's a really good example, because you'll see boxing fans or just sports fans in general who might be holding something in, and then all it takes sometimes is to, like, imagine one of these guys who's just he's thinking about, he's putting plans together to check out, in a manner of speaking, and he catches a Tyson Fury interview being open and honest about this sort of stuff. He might think twice.
Absolutely.
That's right.
And
I think it's so important that,
from what that man said, from what that boxer said, that's a life saved.
Yeah.
That's right. It's so important, I think, too, for, people in those positions that do have an audience and a reach, especially if they're going through it themselves, to put those words out there, because otherwise the stigma is not going to go away. No. You know what I mean? And I think it's important. I mean, that's the whole point of us doing this episode tonight, is because everyone here at some point has been through, this situation and I guess have had to deal with it in different ways. It affects everyone differently, but, we basically just wanted to chat with you guys and try and help erase that stigma and, let people know that it is okay to speak up. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay that you're going through these feelings and these, especially in the times that we're in at the moment. And I think it's really important that, the message gets out, because it's clearly, judging by statistics, it's a big issue.
Yeah. But even just talking to people that you work with, or once the conversation opens up, it might be over a few drinks and people start talking, like you mentioned before, Reese, how many people are affected. Everyone tries to keep a brave face, and that's that, that pulling the wool over your own eyes sort of thing. If it became normalised sort of thing, or normalise it, you're a stronger person for talking about it. And that's coming from my personal experiences. And when I look back now at my my dealings with my own mental health and how I ended up there and what I could have done to fix that. To see how much time, and I will use the term, how much time I lost because of it. And I say that because it was purely my own pride that stopped me from going and getting the help that I needed. But it came down to that, I don't want to be seen as weak.
Yeah. Why can't you deal with this yourself? It's not that bad.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And see, you know, it's that's why I use it as time lost, because it was my own stupidity to a degree, and not going, righto, well, this is not right. I'm not happy. I need to go and get this sorted. And it was a very hard step.
Never call it stupidity, Vinno.
Yeah.
Maybe stubbornness.
Stubbornness, yeah. Look, that's
These
just
are-
me
these are
probably
so-
being a bit hard
social
on
constructs
myself.
that are bred into us.
That's more of
You know
my
what I mean?
reflection on it,
They
though.
are.
Me calling it, looking back now, I suppose, and you see it all the time, you know, if you saw your younger self, what would you say to them? My thing always is, get some fucking help. Like, because, you know,
You're loved.
looking back, and it's probably going to be me with my, you know, with my son when I'm old, when he's a little bit older, you know, go, I told you not to do that because it was silly, you know. It's very much me going to my younger self, don't be an idiot, go and get the help. And that first step to get help was not easy. And I remember walking in my first session with a counsellor and shaking, like physically shaking and perspirating, and walking out of there. That was when I first instantly went, oh, you're an idiot. Why didn't you do that earlier?
Such a weight off your
Oh,
shoulders.
dude, absolutely.
Revelation. Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is where the importance of Jake comes into this. Is it took what happened to Jake for me to go and get that help. If what happened with Jake hadn't have happened, you know, it might have been another 12 months, might have been another 6 months, I might have been in that same position. So I hold him very dear to me in the regard that he's somewhat of a guardian angel for me in that respect, because he showed me what I needed to do to fix myself. And if you're going to take something good out of any sort of situation, which in that circumstance it's very hard to. When I look at our friends group and the people that he affected, the amount of people that changed or bettered themselves because they wanted what happened to him to mean something, like to be a beacon, you know, to move forward and to start positive things, you know. The amount of people that he touched in that regard is massive. And if only he could have seen that, things would probably be a bit different. But that's my big connection there, you know, with mental health. And that was the first time I'd been in experience with, you know, someone committing or, you know, self-harming to that level. It was an eye-opener, but it was a life changer as well. So.
Oh, look, we lost, obviously, like a very dear friend and someone who was, like we were saying earlier, the life of the party, and almost like an impish Rick Mayall type character, you know, like and someone who could be close and deep at 4 o'clock in the morning at a party and be the last person around the fire chatting with you. Someone you could have
Chatting
around
with
in your
you, man.
house
He'd
and
be
watch.
poking you with a stick because he didn't want you to go to sleep.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
I remember him at Jerry's Plains, man. I just wanted to go to sleep. I was that drunk and that tired. I just wanted to sleep, and he was literally there with a stick. Like, you're not going to sleep, Vinno. Get up, man. Like, there's still beers, man. It's like, Jake, they're not ours. And he's like, I don't care. Like,
But that's right. Like he means a lot to us in a lot of different ways. Like, again, he's someone I could watch 8 hours of Buffy with one day. You know, like he's just a different. He was, or we could talk about Black Sabbath or pretend we're in a band, or. But for you guys, obviously Jake was a brother. What was that? And for everybody out there, like who may not have that lived experience, that's obviously got to be pretty powerful, right?
You mean the event of losing him?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Aftermath, I suppose.
Yeah.
The vacuum left.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Like I said before, all those shenanigans you got up to at parties with you guys, that was more or less 24/7. Just not always, drinking or trying to party, but it was always, let's stay up late, let's watch horror movies, or
Yep.
Let's play 12 hours of PlayStation or something like that. That kind of thing. And even as we grew up and got older, like everyone's routines changed with work, as they do. But even then, Josh wasn't living at home around the time we lost him, because he'd moved out a few years before, and for me it was like not having him come through the laundry door at 4 o'clock every day and then chuck on the wrestling or that kind of a thing. Still expecting it for a long time.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've said it a bunch of times how even though we'd lost him, it still felt like, and still does feel like, he was still here and a part of everyone's personalities. Really.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sometimes I get a certain tone in my laugh that sounds like him, kind of thing, or one of you guys tells the same kind of joke, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It comes up a lot when we speak to each other.
Yeah, that too.
We hear it a lot when, people are doing a silly voice or something like that he used to do, and you stop yourself for a second and go, oh, fuck, yeah. You know where that's come from, and everyone just, yeah. It's
But he lives on through us all, doesn't he?
Every time I see Dr. Evil Man, I think of him, eh?
Yeah.
It's like impossible not to.
My father would womanize, he would drink.
Yes.
the Dave Chappelle skits, or the Stephen King's It. He would be so funny at those impressions.
Yeah, I was watching an old Chappelle skit today that actually reminded me of him. So it's funny you mentioned that. It was the one where Tyrone, the crack addict, is on. There's something you don't know. Joe Rogan. Rocks. He quoted that all the time.
Oh man.
Stuff,
Yeah, it's and use this for those guys that are listening or watching. Use this as a bit of an example. That it's never too late. Don't ever think that you're weak for speaking. We are going to have at the end of the show and in the show notes some links there that you can contact Beyond Blue and whatnot, Black Dog Institute, if you are seeking help. So if these conversations, if that's anything to go by, of what not to do, what not to let yourself get to, absolutely, because I think we can all say that if Jake had to come forward to any of us, it would have been a different story, I think. But as we mentioned before with Robin Williams and a lot of those celebrities and those sorts of people, they hide it through their humour, and that was very much Jake.
It's the kind of darkness you don't see, or not many people get to see, unless they're really close and unless they spend a lot of time in specific situations like that 4 a.m. Stay awake kind of thing.
And sometimes it's not until hindsight's a beautiful thing. It's not until you look back that you notice some of those characteristics, and at the time, it's very hard to pick that up.
Definitely.
It's on everybody as well to, I think we got to let people know that we're there for them too. And I think us, particularly lads, we got to tell each other we love each other more. We've got to be more openly vulnerable about our own issues, but also we got to tell people, look, that's what Are You OK Day is about, or the whole thing behind it. We did something at work. It was, it was actually quite powerful for everyone there. But again, just being aware that people around you, you might not know. Even when you're interacting with someone, they might be dealing with something very deep. But we need to reach out to people and let them know that you're there for them. And I can't say it enough.
There's an element of leading by example.
Yeah, I was about to say
Yeah.
that very thing. Like, it's hard to open up sometimes, you know, from zero, unless someone kind of eases you into it a little bit.
Yep.
Sometimes that's not as easy as just asking, "Oh, how you going? What's the matter?" It's like sharing some of your own troubles a bit.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
mate
Make
asks
them
you
a bit
to-
comfortable.
Yeah,
So if a mate asks you, just says, "How you going?" and you're honest with them, you go, "I'm not doing too well, mate, honestly," and open up a little bit about it.
Yep.
That's a great example for your friend next time.
Yep.
You know, they might feel more comfortable coming clean about it as a result of you offering that kind of transparency in a casual
Definitely.
conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose that all comes with the stigma too of, you know, like, how do you make that conversation comfortable so people are, you know, it's a very personal thing. So, you know, do you, as part of the Black Dog thing, do you guys, I mean, obviously you said you're very statistics based and all that sort of stuff and research. Do you guys work on like ways of breaking down that wall of communication, like to through this sort of thing, or?
Well, Liam doesn't really have anything to do with it. He's not involved, but
He's got another. I've got a question for Liam in a minute, so he can talk. It's not about his beard this time, so it's okay.
okay, I was about to ask.
not necessarily. It's just to give you an example of what I've been working on recently. The Black Dog are going to release an app called Fireside. I'm pretty sure I can say that now. And part of its development was getting people like me to test drive it, and you know, like using a what do you call it? A prototype version of it, and going through checking some of the language too to make sure that it's appropriate, that it's not gonna I guess frighten people off. You want it to be personable,
Yeah.
not too formal, I should say.
Yep.
Or informal.
Yeah, or not too informal.
Yeah,
You know, you want to strike the right balance so that if somebody's having a hard time and they open this app, that's you know, that's a hook. We need to keep that hook, keep them in that app, because again, that could be a lifesaver.
Yeah.
That decision to download and open this app, you want to keep them in there. You don't want them to go, you don't want them to come to some to go to some function on the app where there's a sentence that sounds a bit too hard, a bit too well, like we said, formal, because then they might like close the fucking thing and
Yep.
go and hurt themselves.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was the last big thing I really worked on for them. Yeah.
So does that app have
Is this-
like
It sounds
like
great.
mental health first aid type features to it, or?
Yeah, you when the first time you use it, you kind of set it up for yourself.
Yep.
Like you can put your emergency contacts in there. Yeah, it'll ask you to list like what are some of your favourite things that you enjoy doing, and it might not prompt you to do them, but then later on when you're in trouble and you need that support and you open this app, you can look at lists saying here's a bunch of photos and
Perspective.
here's a bunch of photos of loved ones.
Yep.
Here's some hobbies I really like doing.
Try and spark that positive thought.
Here's some things that I can be grateful for, and even here is a note that I wrote the other day when something made me happy. So I know that I'm capable of happiness, and I can get back there.
Yep.
And this is going to pass.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's very much a tool to try and quell that further falling into the rabbit hole, so to speak, isn't it?
Yeah, break the cycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So is there?
Does it?
Go, Reece.
Sorry. No, I was just saying, does it offer like, is there a means to contact people through the app as well? Like if you wanted to reach out, like, for example, not everyone wants to talk to their friends or family, and they find that probably harder than it is to talk to a stranger. Is there like a means of contacting, or does it sort of, do you join up with people like Beyond Blue and Lifeline for those sorts of avenues, or do you offer that as well through Black Dog?
Yeah, there's all like the direct links in that. So there's going to be a page on the app, like on the bottom toolbar, where you can hit it for support, and it'll just come up with bang, 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 bang. Tap this number. You got Lifeline. Tap this one. You can start a text conversation with Lifeline if you don't feel like talking, which is something that they do now.
Yep.
Like a chat, a SMS service, I should say.
That friends be in that situation, and that's like a bit of a game changer. It can be.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
And that brings
can't be very verbal when they're in that situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might not want to talk. You might just want to fire off some messages with someone.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that brings me to my next question in regards to mental health first aid. It's come into the first aid courses in recent years. Is that something that the Black Dog Institute is heavily involved with, in teaching those ways to address, for someone who has done the basic first aid courses, if they start to recognise somebody is in trouble, ways to address that?
I think on a local level, Lifeline's the best bet.
Yep.
For mental health first aid training. Black Dog, I think they do offer some courses, but they're more in the realm of studies and things like that. And going, hey, are you 25 to 35? Have you been suicidal in the past? Would you like to share some of your insights to help us develop strategies that inform groups like Beyond Blue and Lifeline? Then sign up here. I think they've got an Instagram ad on right now that's like, we're trying to determine the link between writing styles and mental illness. So people can sign up to this study, and they get like $5 a test or something like that. Like it's not much paid.
You're not doing it for the money, though, are you? You're doing it for the betterment.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Just an extra
A bit of incentive. And then I think they're going to ask people to carry out some writing exercises, and then provide some background about who they are, what they've experienced in the past, any mental illnesses they might have if they choose to disclose that. And that's more it's more the analytical stuff.
Yep.
To like recognise a trend or a pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay.
I guess we talk about males having a higher rate of suicide in the community, but there are also, and I don't know whether this is a socio-economic issue, but Indigenous Australians and Torres Strait Islanders, they also have a higher rate, and also our brothers and sisters in the trans community.
Yep.
So is there, does the Black Dog Institute, does it have places or people that can specifically help with all different people that will come for help?
I think
are there more specialised places, I should say, for people in those groups to go to?
Yeah, there are. I wouldn't know off the top of my head. Again, I think that Lifeline is the first best point of contact for anybody having a hard time. But there are, I believe, I think Headspace does a lot of work with Indigenous Australians, trans people. But to your point, Dave, I think it is societal.
Yep.
Absolutely.
just like the social construct that will make a man feel like he has to meet these certain levels of what it means to be a man. I guess the weight of that.
See, on
again,
on
for
the
every
indigenous
type of person.
on the indigenous side there, just with my family ties and whatnot. That comes down to a lot of different factors as well, and a lot that I suppose I'll say normal society won't understand until they delve into indigenous culture, and the pressures and being taken away from country, so to speak, for an indigenous person is a huge thing, and losing that connection and not being able to go back. And this is, throughout history, the misunderstanding in regards to that, and the effect that has on indigenous people mentally, spiritually, and everything. That's a massive a door to go down in regards to that.
Absolutely.
So that's
colonialism as a whole, really.
That's another cultural thing more so than a societal thing, I think, and the misunderstanding of indigenous culture within
and the lack of trust as well.
Yeah, sorry, Liam, what was that, bud?
Systemic racism and inequalities the world around in every.
That's
particularly colonial.
The racism is definitely one part of it. Yeah. But it is definitely, and a lot of it is that heritage and that cultural and the spiritual side of it that comes into it. We as society might think that there's no spiritual connection to land, but for Indigenous people, absolutely there is.
That's right.
And there is a very strong tie there, and not understanding that and not appreciating that, or even wanting to understand that. That is a frustration, and that adds to it. So that's another avenue.
My partner is a Walpri person from Northern Territory, and they're just, especially recently, getting into understanding their Indigenous ties.
It's hard, man.
Their family is recognised around there for not only like blood relations, but also just looking after local Indigenous people for generations and helping out on country, and just also being part of the family. Yeah, it's
so hard. Like, it took, for my uncles it was different, but for mum and my auntie, with my grandfather, because traditionally, for him, I won't speak for all Indigenous people, but for him it was, I will teach my sons the men's business, and it's up to the women to teach women's business, So my mother and my auntie got left out, so we missed out on a fair bit, culturally. And
even with you saying that, straight away, there's that stigma for the expectations of a male to a female.
Absolutely.
Which relates directly back to everything we've been talking about right now.
And that's a cultural thing. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. It's not just...
It's that interruption. But I don't we won't get too far down the track there and get away from topic. But it's definitely another. There's a lot there in regards to that. But then there is the pressure from society as well.
That adds to the weight, though, right? That adds to the weight
absolutely.
on top. Yeah, and another part of the worldview that we all have to, again, I think, be empathetic about.
Yep.
Yep.
Now,
society lacking in empathy.
Yeah.
Yep.
That doesn't empathise with Indigenous people, trans people, women.
Yep.
And in its own way, men as well, by holding men's emotions hostage.
Yep.
White men. Well,
Yeah.
Yep.
Men of colour, people of colour in general, and anyone in the queer community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Forcing them to be something that they're not.
And that's... sorry, mate. Yeah.
Right. So, Indigenous people living in a colonial society. You've got, LGBT people living in a heterosexual society. You've got women living in a patriarchal society. And you've got men living in a patriarchal society where power is not shared the way it should be, which feeds into this, I guess, mindset that we don't need help. We cannot seek help. But the numbers suggest that we really fucking do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Men are not happy right now. Yep.
No. No.
Now,
No.
like you were talking about with, minorities and stuff like that, feeling the pressure, and we touched on it slightly in one of the previous episodes about the alternative music scene sort of thing, and this was my question for Liam. In regards to your music and whatnot, do you use that as an avenue, not just alternative music, but music in general as an avenue to promote looking after your mental health, or a message there? Or is there any songs in particular that you guys have written?
Or an outlet even. Yep.
Well, it's definitely an outlet,
Yep.
but it's such music is so tied to emotion in pretty much
Definitely.
every way that depending on how you feel, a certain type of song will come out. Like, I can't force myself to write a happy song, or can't even force myself to write like an angry song if I'm just not feeling it.
Yep.
And, I'm not the lyricist for any of my bands, but the first song on my band Lamphead's EP is written about our singer Joey. One of his best mates, Luka, sadly took his own life in the recent years, and unfortunately I don't know much about him, but that song is just about Joey struggling with the loss and trying to understand why he did it,
Yep.
and the things that remind him. And at our shows, we've only played like 2 or 3 shows, but all his mates who knew Luka, they've had their arms around each other, and it's our first song in the set, and people are singing and crying already.
Yeah.
So it's like touched a lot of people just to have that. I guess spoken about so earnestly in song.
But that's a powerful thing, because people that didn't know Luka, I suppose, and might have only just shown up or just been present when you've started playing, and they see that reaction, instantly that sparks a question, doesn't it? It's, okay, why is this so emotional? What's this message? And I suppose that's the power of music and what you're doing there with your band, which, as he mentioned, was Lamphead. Fantastic band, guys. Go and check them out. But
that song in particular is great. Like, I love when when he talks about how he would have loved that riff.
Yeah.
And it was just so personal. And
Yeah.
Yeah. When Joey sent those lyrics to us, we were like, oh, damn, dude, that's because
real.
it's the first song on the album.
how did you relate? Like, when you read those lyrics, did you relate to them directly? Not how did you relate, but did you instantly read those and you were in his position to a degree?
Oh, yeah. That's one of the things that really, I think, drew the band together to make it mean more than it had meant up until that point. Joey, singer, was the last member to join the band, and he's really become the glue and obviously the face and voice of Lamphead.
Yep.
And that song in particular really, I guess, cemented why he's the best person for the job.
Yep.
Josh cracking the tinnies in the background.
Yeah.
But, it connected us on a personal level. We have talked a few times about our similar losses. As I said, I don't really know Luka at all, but I think that...
Look, while we're on the...
Until last year, but that really connected us on such a much more personal level.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on the subject of music, I mean, as someone, I've probably dealt with mental health issues for a majority of my adult life, but I think I was probably very naive to that. And in regards to music, that was, I guess, kind of always like my coping mechanism or my outlet. Like,
Very much so.
to me, for me to be able to, write lyrics and perform those, like, and a lot of the songs that I wrote were about myself, not just other people or anything like that over the years. But I think when I noticed, for me, when my own mental state really hit home was when I stopped doing that, and I no longer had that outlet, and I just watched my own mental health crash big time. And realistically, I haven't really had anything creative as such in that I guess that stature. Like, I haven't had that much opportunity or something, or found another hobby that's given me the outlet like what playing music did. And
it's nothing better than screaming your lungs out in front of a crowd full of people.
100%. And it doesn't matter if
outlet,
it was physical and it was mental, because I was getting my emotions out onto paper, but at the same time I was able to stand up and physically exert them as well. So
you were able to give a physical representation of your art.
Same as going to see your favourite band or something and connecting with a couple thousand other people who felt the same way listening to these songs. And
definitely.
Together.
And that's
like
religious, it's a spiritual experience almost.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's something that connects people.
We had a moment at a Slipknot concert that was just incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
It was all these people together. They just were getting together to just let it out.
Yeah.
And everyone's really, looking after each other and kind of thing. And
the metal community, right? It does have it does have its issues in some places, but there's a certain camaraderie in metal. I remember whenever you go into a gig, or even if you're not, even if you're just on a bus, and if you see someone with a t-shirt of a band you like, or something like that, or a badge or something written on the bag, you kind of have a little nod to them, There's something that's right, and you got the Taken by Force thing as well.
Just promoting it.
No, music again is one of those things that brings us together, and
and it's touching on that. My first show that I played after Jake passing was I was playing in a band called Resistance from the Central Coast, and we played with a band called Antagonist AD from New Zealand. And they're an awesome band, and they had recently had a mate pass away as well. And during their set, they gave a shout out to him and whatnot. And then after the show, that was probably the hardest I've played as far as hitting drums for a long time. I busted one of the skins and stuff, and that was release, letting out that emotion. But then going and talking to those guys afterwards and being on that same level, and that after that such a big release, and it's powerful, and I don't think
it's a different bond.
Someone just walking in wouldn't sort of be able to get to that level, so, or that understanding, unless they've been in that similar situation, I think. So it's very powerful.
You share the exact same pain, even though it's from different sources, and you've probably never met before. It's
there's something really powerful. I've had a few experiences with it. There's something really powerful when you meet someone new, and you get to talking, and you get to the point where you both confide that your life has been impacted by suicide, and there's a knowing, there's a look that I've shared with people where it's like, oh yeah, they've been through this. They know what this is about.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important.
Sorry, Dave, you go.
No, I was just going to say, like you guys are doing now, and you're sharing your stories. That's why it's important to have people with lived experience, but humanise this very big issue. Like I think I spoke to you before. My wife's lost her little brother to suicide, and it's actually his 11th anniversary this Sunday. And I think we were touched on it before, how I didn't know him directly. I'd never met him, but through the way they talk about him, and the way they're able to look back and laugh and tell stories, and it is very hard. Or obviously the way they explain it to me is that they're just stronger now at dealing with it. Like, the pain doesn't go away. but they're just stronger in that place. But it's fantastic to see how it's still kept alive through the stories of the family, and you see it's almost like I kind of know them a little bit, if that makes sense, through those stories. And I think that's why it's important to speak about.
Like we're talking about before with the Indigenous culture, a lot of their history and their culture is passed on through story. It's no different in this regard with these people that we're talking about today, and anybody that we've lost, you keep them alive and you keep their memory alive through stories, and very much
you see the impact too.
Yes,
yeah, that's right.
On the family too of loss also, and it's powerful to uphold, and the strength in them. Yeah.
Now I suppose one of the questions that I've had for a while for you guys is, since Jake passing, obviously there's that initial period of uncertainty, but did you instantly sort of go, righto, we're gonna move into the field of activism sort of thing with as far as preventing this, or was it just a progressive change? Josh, more so there in regards to your work with Black Dog, but Liam as well with your music. Did you think, right, I'm gonna write a song about this one day?
Honestly, I still haven't come to that. It's really hard to write a song on such a delicate and intricate topic without feeling like I'm not doing it justice. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So it's really hard to approach that, and I mean, especially for me, like I said, I'm not really a lyricist, so that also does mean I would have to convey most of it through music. But
man, that's just as powerful.
Yeah, that's true.
Mozart never had lyrics, mate.
That's true, and now he's dead.
Never thought about it that way, Liam.
So Josh, same sort of question.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Did you sort of go, okay, I'm going to move into that field of preventing this or helping others and that, or was that just a progressive?
From memory, because it's all just one big emptiness from the time.
Yep.
I reckon it was probably maybe just after the funeral I decided at the very least that I was going to that I wanted to write about it.
Yep.
And so I started writing about it. I had a blog for a couple of years, but
Daft night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I forgot to pay my bills. So it's still there, but it's shut down. So I've got to get that sorted out because I do want to start it back up.
Absolutely. I did read a few of you.
Yeah, it was helpful at the time for everyone, I feel. Yeah.
Yep.
That's where I started. Being like, there's got to be something I can do.
Yeah.
There's got to be something I can take from this nightmare and use to try to spare other families the same pain.
Try and pull some positivity from a very dark time.
Yeah, and that's where the name The Daft Night came from. It's I think I wrote on the blog that it's not knowing exactly what to do, but recognising the need to fight, to do something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's half the battle, isn't it? Especially with mental health, is we don't always have an answer, and not everybody has an answer, but recognising that there is a problem is the first, they speak about it with, addiction, is recognising that you have a problem is the first step to recovery, and it's no different in the sense of mental health, and it's not necessarily that you have that the problem is you. It might mean that you just need a little bit of help, or you just think about things differently, or, but recognising that, hey, I can't do this on my own and I need help. It's not weak. And it's the first step to bettering yourself and moving forward and coming out of a dark time. And, as I mentioned before with my situation, it took that shock, and it took seeing the impact for me to move out of that and put my hand up and go, hey, shit, yeah, okay, this is not right. I need to move forward. And yeah, you know, it's
one thing I'd like to I guess say to your audience on the Fireside is that you've got to be patient as well.
Yeah.
It might not be a quick fix. It might not be a couple of counselling sessions. It could be. It could be as simple as opening up to a mate. Mm-hmm. But if it's not, you might be in for a psychiatrist trying to find the right medication that works.
Yep.
You might even do a period of time where you're on the wrong one.
Yeah.
You might not click with your psychologist or your counsellor. So you're going to try another one. But so there's
a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, but if you want to get better, if you want to stay alive, you might have to be persistent.
Yep.
And not give up.
It's worth
and a lot
it.
of things
It's
too
worth
that I think people need to realise is, there's darkness before the light. And a lot of the time, especially when it comes to medication and stuff like that, or finding a psychologist or counsellor that you click with and that you feel comfortable with, things are probably going to get worse before they get better. And even though you might feel you're at your lowest point, like there's a chance that it could get worse, but you need to try and push through and like you said, be patient, whether it's being patient with someone going through it or just being patient with yourself and understanding that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think for me, like, as I said before, like, I think I was very, very naive to my own mental health for a majority of my adult life. And in the last couple of years, I've 100% been in the darkest times of my time here on Earth. And I've been into those positions where I've had plans and, I've been very, very close to taking that road. And there's a select number of people that I suppose it's not very big that I have spoken to about some things, but I guess I've never really opened up to a lot of them too because of that same thing of feeling like a burden or, I guess being scared of them looking at me differently because I'm being honest with them about how I'm feeling or, the things that are going through my head. And it's literally only been in the last 6 months that I've actually gone and started going to a psychologist, and I've been doing that every couple of weeks now for the last 6 months. And like you were saying, Vinno, like, although it's not stupid, I feel stupid because the improvement that I've seen in my own life and my own mental health since doing so is just, it's almost indescribable. It's been a complete life changer. It really has. And
look, I've noticed it on your COD as well, mate. Your COD gameplay has definitely picked up.
But no, in all seriousness, though, like there's a lot of things I think that until I went and spoke to someone who does have the knowledge and the realized, about how the brain works and your chemical levels and the things that cause anxiety and depression and the things that you can do to help yourself. Like for me, medication's always scared me. I've been prescribed it numerous times over the years and I've never taken it because every time I start, when I'm going to go and start using it, I get scared and talk myself out of it. And I guess it's because I've had in my brain that I felt like I was just masking the problem. You know what I mean? Like a temporary fix. So I'm just making my brain thinking I'm better without actually getting to the problem and fixing it that way. Although that may not be true. That's for me, that's how I've felt about medication. So it's always scared me and, feeling like I'm being altered into being a different person because of that was nerving.
Not alone. Yeah. There's a stigma. There is a stigma behind that. You are right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That stigma has lessened, I feel.
Yeah.
Well, it was just general talking about mental health, but, not only the stigma has lessened, but the advancements have come a long way since jokes in the 90s about I don't know what these
Crazy pills.
Yeah, crazy pills.
Yeah, definitely.
Chill pills.
Definitely.
Take a chill pill.
Like there's
Yeah.
there are medications there to help you with an actual imbalance that you can't fix yourself. And
Yeah.
it is not your fault by any means. It's just something that is there.
That's right.
And
Life-saving medicine.
yeah, and when I first started on just like light dose antidepressants. It was basically explained like it's going to help you go from like this to like
flattens it out. Yeah,
so you're not going to be like a zombie and zonked out, but
yeah,
be able to control.
It just stops you having from those extreme lows and extreme highs fluctuating all the time. It brings it to a bit more of a manageable level. And I wasn't aware of any of that until I went and spoke to someone about it. You know, like and I guess the stigma around thinking that taking this drug is going to make me better and I'm not going to have to do anything else is so false. And I think there's probably a lot of people that felt the same way that I did. And, but I guess another thing that I realized through talking to someone, one thing I'll say is like having a neutral person that's probably not going to be biased, you know, like your friends and family are obviously going to have a biased opinion, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, sometimes isn't always the best option for yourself. I think having someone that is neutral and can just, there's no judgment or bias there to have those conversations with was a really big thing that helped me 100%. But she also informed me of things that I didn't even think about, like when it comes into managing your mental health, and not just through talking and support groups and stuff like that, and I'm sure being the Black Dog does a lot of statistic and research, is things like nutrition, exercise, sleep, the basic things, you know, that we put into our body or exert through our body, and not getting proper sleep and I was never aware how much of an impact that actually had on your brain's ability to make the chemicals that make you feel normal. Like
education's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Like
it's man.
Right.
And
having an outside perspective, but it's an outside educated perspective.
That's right. I think such a huge thing with I guess nowadays as well, with although a lot of the times we kind of look at it like it's a bit of a fad and a trend and frustrating when it comes to like Fitspo and stuff like that. Like I really think exercise is such a positive thing for anyone to do when it comes to mental health. And like I don't know, like, you know, Joe Rogan's a huge person to promote that, you know, always talking about exercise to make it, and Jocko Willink and stuff like that. Like listening to those people talk about, you know, the effects that exercise has with mental health was a really big eye opener for me too. So
but like you were saying there, where you didn't know, you know, a lot of these things, and you know, I'm in that same boat, and I'm sure everybody is. The fact that this isn't, and it probably will change, taught in schools a lot more.
Yes.
You know, in PE and those sorts of things, we learn about how the body works, you know, the physical aspects of it. You know, I mean, if you break your leg, you know you've broken your leg, don't you? Because you can see it, and it's these hidden problems that we don't get taught about so much until you start delving into it or learning about it yourself, or you start moving into those sorts of fields. But the statistics, as we spoke about before, showed that this is definitely cause for, you know, that sort of criteria in schools, or that, you know, there's an avenue there. And if people know, you know, the effects and how mental health is affected with your diet and that, it's another selling point for nutritionists and that sort of thing. But if it's common knowledge, I mean, everybody remembers when you talk about PE at school, everybody remembers how to roll a condom on a banana, right? But because that was the sort of thing that everybody does, because that's, you know, as part of the curriculum, and it's a heavy part of it is safe sex. So why isn't mental health held up to that same level to reduce that stigma and increase, you know, everybody's knowledge, not just when you start to fall down that rabbit hole, that you start learning about these things. If people knew about them early, the warning signs could be picked up on sooner. And that's one of the things that frustrates me a lot, is the misinformation around mental health. And I mentioned at the start about, just go and relax or take a walk and you'll be right, sort of thing. Yeah, downplaying it. And I think if it was...
So with Simone Biles as well.
Yeah.
This is obviously another person at the top of their game in physicality, but mental health issues can take our top athletes, not just Tyson Fury, but our top athletes in the world can be physically impaired.
Yeah.
And then we seen the reaction to that was actually quite shameful from a lot of people. But especially for someone so young and for what the sport has affected her life in different ways too, but we won't go down. But to see, but I think she's a shining example.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I don't want to get too sidetracked on it, but I think she went through a lot with, was it Dr. Larry Nassar, her coach?
Yeah, her coach in the previous Olympics. The fact that she's able to still compete and to still go back to Olympic teams and put herself in that position where trauma, where she got her trauma from, and the fact that we're now she gave her best years to us, and she's still the best in the world, but we can't just give her like a day off. Like maybe we all need with mental health. Sometimes it can physically hold you back. And that we couldn't give it to her, and we held her at that kind of expectation. But at the same time, I think, like you were saying before, Liam, we're getting better at it. We're getting more the stigma is coming down. But we've got to keep on in that direction and keep supporting each other.
If that kind of thing happened 20 years ago with Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, it would have been far worse for general society and even the media. And I mean, the media still sucks and all that about it, but having it happen now, a lot more people are like, yeah, fair enough. Who gives a shit about a gold medal if it's going to seriously impact your life going forward in a negative way?
Well, it comes down to that question: is what's winning worth to you? Is it worth, dying for? Is it,
Nothing to prove. But what she did, I think, was quite powerful.
Take sick days at work.
Yep.
So I was about to say the same thing. Like,
you don't have to have runs from the Mexican or Thai you ate the night before to have a day off work.
Yeah.
No. It's funny, like you said that, because
you get sick up here, take a day off. Do it.
Yeah.
Reducing
You
that.
can't operate machinery safely like that either. You can't. You're not a representation of a company in a good way if you're not happy. There's too many things behind it, and like everyone I think here is echoing what Josh said. Mental health is a health issue. So
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like like you were saying before, if you break your leg, it's broken, and you're going to go and do something about it. Just because you can't physically see that you have a problem doesn't mean that it's not there, and that's a big thing that I think a lot of people need to realize. And I think from a supervisor's standpoint as well, they need to, or bosses or, anything, they need to start realizing that too, because I've had some absolutely shocking, interactions with bosses over the years when it comes to not being at work for your own mental, and it's just not acceptable.
See, I think that's changing. I won't say the name of the company that I work for, but that is changing to the point where they have actually trained some people within the business to be points of contact for employees that are struggling. And they have the basics of mental health, first aid, and those sorts of things. So
it's policy now. It's part of workplace health and safety.
Even prior to that, there was that movement. Yeah. So they are a very forward or progressive company in that regard. Sorry, it's just
a little bit of corona there.
Yeah, my sickness that's got me this week.
Sneeze.
Yeah. It's that Mexican that Josh was talking about just before.
We apologise to everybody here at Fireside Yarns for anyone that might be offended.
But
That's all love.
There is that move forward, and I think we are going in the right direction, especially with the sort of work that Josh does and those sorts of things. But not quick enough in my personal opinion. I think with the history that we've got and the time that we've had to look at these changes and it's the stigma that's holding us back. I think once that is broken, and the more it's broken down, the more normalised it is to talk about mental health, and look at it as a health factor. Not as a weakness, but as an actual health factor. Not put it in the same category as major injuries and stuff like that.
It's
because
an ailment.
Absolutely.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you've got an issue with your liver or your kidneys or something like that, your brain is no different. It is more important in that regard. This is one of the ailments that affects it. So let's look at it that way, and let's deal with it as a health issue, and as a major health issue. The statistics are calling for it.
Community issue. I mean, we're stronger together. I hate to go to a movie for a quote, but Caesar from Planet of the Apes, he uses the example of the sticks, right? Apes stronger together, and we're apes, and we are stronger together. And it's not just for people going through this. I think we talked about it a bit earlier, but
only Dave Giles could bring Planet of the Apes.
Lads, everybody, ask people if they're okay. Reach out and be patient. Listen.
And I think that's probably the biggest thing. Is listen.
Listen.
Yeah. See what I'm saying?
Solutions to everyone's problems, but if you're an attentive and kind ear, that can do.
Sometimes people don't want you to give advice or to tell them how to fix it. They just want you to listen.
Yeah.
Well, 2 ears, one mouth, saying.
Be a bit proactive. See what you can. If you can't do some sort of course through work, see what you can learn about recognising the warning signs in people, so that you can spot those little changes in mates or co-workers. Another thing I was going to say was, if your workplace doesn't have an employee assistance program, a lot of them do. I work at the uni down here in Newey, and I get 6 free psych sessions a year. But I was having a hard time about 2 years ago. Spoke to someone in HR about it, and they okayed me for 15 a year. Yeah. Just signed it away. And if your workplace doesn't have an EAP, but it does have a union, try engaging with the union.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep, definitely.
You can only look at it in it's a win-win for everyone as well. Look, a happy employee, bosses out there, is a more productive employee. Someone as well, if you're going to take care of your workers in that way and recognise their vulnerability, like we all have, and like Josh was saying earlier, showing people that you can be vulnerable around them as an example is also a great thing to do. Like, just be more open with everybody, with your friends, right? People around you.
Definitely. Yeah.
So, I suppose that brings us towards the end of our chat, and like I said, we're going to have plenty of contacts and links in the show notes, and at the end of the episode for you to have a look at. So absolutely get in contact with any of those groups if you're struggling or you're need a bit of help, even if you just want some more information about it. As Josh mentioned before, if you're interested in getting on and helping with the Black Dog Institute, get on their website. There's all the information on their website there for that, Josh, or
just find them on social media.
Yep.
Instagram, Facebook, see what's available. Again, all the big ones are running things down then. Headspace, Lifeline, on Blue. Just find them on social media. Keep up to date. Something comes up you think you might be able to help with, give it a crack. But they're also all these organisations are always sharing helpful stuff, helpful tips, so that you can do that little bit of learning that might make you a better listener, as we've discussed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you want to get in contact with us, even to ask us questions, or you've got questions for the boys, shoot them through in the comments. Shoot us a message through Instagram, on YouTube or whatever, and we'll pass it on, and we can ask those questions.
Listen to Lamphead. Listen to Lamphead.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen to Taken by Force.
And listen to each other. Look at us.
Put on a toga, Dave, and say it.
Is your band on? Is your band on streaming services and stuff, Liam? Like we can listen to it on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Spotify, YouTube, Bandcamp.
Yeah, sick.
Triple J on Earth. But yeah.
Cool.
Reese is already putting him into his list for the next
yeah, mate.
Top Bands episode that we do. So, guys, thanks very much for coming on.
Thanks so much.
It's a very hard thing to talk about, and we, very very thankful that you've come on and shown the strength that you have to come and
definitely.
Pave that way. Definitely unreal ambassadors for the cause in that regard, because you've been through the lowest of the low with yourselves as well, and then with family and everything like that. So to be able to come and talk about it, you're a shining example for people that are struggling or have been in those situations. So thank you very much for coming on board and talking.
You talking about us or you three?
No, you. No, you. But you with that moustache. I think you need to shave the sides and just keep that moustache.
Because I think I can speak for my brother when we're thinking the same thing. That the three of you have been incredibly brave over the last hour. You might not have really realised it, but absolutely. And I think by the very nature of your podcast, even the show, even when you're not talking about mental health, the fact that the concept of the fireside yarn and sharing stories and perspectives is, to me, an act of mental health advocacy in itself.
Yeah.
So I think that the three of you have got a great deal to be proud of.
I appreciate that, man.
Thanks,
we're
man.
grateful for the invitation.
No, mate.
Yeah.
Well, we'd love to have you on again. I mean, this is a vast subject, but also maybe something a bit more lighthearted. Maybe we get you on for some wrestling talk as well. I think that'd be fun. I know I had a great chat with you the other night about it. We went pretty deep, and I think that could be another fun one.
That's going to be an educational one for me, because
I mean, I used to watch a lot of wrestling when I was a kid, but I haven't followed it for a long
it's
time.
so much deeper. My favourite thing is going back and the stuff that I watched as a kid and then just been blown away by.
Yeah, see, I haven't done that. So, yeah, that'd be cool.
No, but the boys are just as qualified there, I think.
Absolutely. Just as well.
A lot of backyard wrestling with Jake when we were kids.
Three brothers got to be some wrestling moves happen there.
Tell me, did Steve get in on that too, though?
Oh, no. That'd be a bit too scary, a bit too real.
He's got that very staunch face from what I remember, mate.
We had foam mattresses, like we get big bits of styrofoam, and like, oh my God, he shattered the steel pipe.
Yeah.
Those are good times.
I was going to say
one thing I do actually remember from a while back. I think it was I can't remember the name of the street that you used to live on up the back of the heights.
Robinson Way.
Robinson Way. Yeah. I remember we were up there one night, and I can't remember who was there, but it was the first time I'd ever played poker. And Jake actually was teaching me how to play poker.
Cheating.
And I ended up cleaning them all out, and he was heaps pissed off. First time biggest beginner's luck ever. But man, I'll never forget that night. It was hilarious. Oh man.
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, just on that note of all those nice things you said about us. Having you guys remember Jake, and at any given time, I've talked to Ethan Adler or Toby, any of those guys one-on-one, and hearing individual stories about Jake that I didn't know about, personal experiences, has been it's been a source of comfort and strength, and
Yeah.
He's a special guy. He's a special
He
guy.
was.
and you know, all, like you were saying before, the way you've all took that horrible thing that happened and leaned on each other, and all that has been a great source of strength and reminder that I guess something good can come out of something horrible.
He was a whole lot more than our brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, he was,
Definitely.
without realising it, and like I said before about him being the glue within our friends group, for no fault of anybody's, after school and whatnot, we all went our separate ways to a degree, did
As
our
you do.
things, as you do, and that's just life. But we forgot, I suppose, to touch base with each other. And one thing that was very special was the week after finding out about Jake, we all spent the week at Ori and Endo's place up the Heights there, pretty well every day.
Oh, wait, the fire.
Yeah, and every like one at a time throughout that whole week, we all broke down, and it was a journey, I suppose, that we all went on. And you might remember, or the 12 months all coming up to my place there, you know, after the golf club and getting on it, and that for me was very special because 12 months later we were all still in connection and we were all still together. And then once again, you know, every year, whether we can all make it or not, someone's out there at the cemetery with a beer, you know, and we're meeting up there. So I think it's reminded us that it doesn't matter how busy we get, there's always time. And there's always time to have that chat. But it's also brought us all together to the point where, you know, we do talk regularly. And that's where he is that glue, because he's bonded us all back together.
Like,
Even though we
people
weren't-
out there, if you're
like
listening,
going,
you're loved.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna do an overarching thing. Like, you are loved. If you're there and you don't know whether to speak to people or you're worried, talk. Like, I think we took each other not for granted, but I think I wish we just had have told each other how much we meant to each other.
Yeah.
A bit more. I think that's always how it's going to be, isn't it? And I guess we can't go back too much. You can only go for what we do from now, right?
Yeah.
How we go forward and how we appreciate each other and let people know how loved they are, because they might not know. They might not know how important they are to you. Let them know.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for something bad to happen.
Doesn't
Yeah,
have to be
exactly.
the actual
No,
saying
that's right.
how much, you know, the verbal saying of how much someone means to you or how much you love them. It's in a heartfelt hug.
Yep.
It's in
Yeah.
connecting, saying, "Oh man, I'm so glad you came," that sort of thing.
Yep.
Demonstrating
Yeah.
positive masculinity means showing people your kindness,
Yep.
and that's a strength. Being there for people,
Yep.
but also being there for yourself.
Yeah. Definitely.
Stepping up and saying, yeah, I need help, and showing people that you can do that. And
That's right. It's stepping up.
It's an outrageous level of courage
Yeah,
that can take. Yeah.
absolutely. Almost the same courage that Jake used to show when there was magpies about, and he was the one with the stick.
I remember he saved me once.
Mate. I don't know that he saved us, but he definitely told us that he saved us one night when we were walking up to the retreat at 6 a.m. We'd been up partying all night. We were going up to a friend's place up there, and he had this stick in his hand, and there was magpies, and we saw them in the tree, but they weren't swooping. But he was definitely convincing us that he was our knight in shining armour. No, 6 a.m. in the morning. So we had been up all night. We'd been down at your at the club, then at Toby's downtown. Then we went back. We'd ended up back at your place at Robinson Way, and then we were walking back up through the old Wattle Ponds Road. Yeah. And that was where we were when he pulled this stick out of nowhere and just, I was convinced he was my...
Swoopy boys in action.
Oh, dude, he was my Luke Skywalker that day, apparently.
Stand back, I'll protect you.
I got everything about except the biology lesson on how magpies are put together. Okay, well, guys, once again, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Next week we've got Halloween. So that's gonna nice.
I'm excited for Halloween.
Yeah. So we're gonna have something special for next week. Definitely tune in. Thanks again for showing your support that you do to Fireside Yarns. We love it. We love doing these sorts of episodes and speaking to very special people. It gives us the opportunity to do that. And I suppose we haven't had the opportunity really to sit down with these boys and have this sort of conversation. And this is what this gives us the platform and the avenue to be able to do. So thank you for that. Guys, any more you want to add?
I look forward to seeing us in person when
Yes.
when things ease up.
Yeah.
We've all had the double jab now. We're good. Oh, Reese.
Wednesday.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, we should organise something. Get by a real Fireside and
Yeah, definitely.
It's great. It's great. It is great just to see you again though as well.
Yeah.
And,
if not, we'll get down there and have a few beers down in Newcastle at the in Mayfield, isn't it? Where you used to do that. There's Stag and Hunter.
Good feed at the Stag, mate.
Yeah.
I'll give it a wide berth because my ex works there.
Okay. Find another the Croatian club.
Maybe.
Croatian club.
Maybe.
We're not on a horrible term. We just
are we on terms for cheaper drink or anything?
No. You know who I am. I may walk in there with a hat pulled down and a my tattoos.
Either way, we'll catch up at some stage. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
But thank you. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Can't say it enough.
Yeah, I really do appreciate you guys coming on it and talking about it. And yeah, it's awesome, man. It's really awesome.
And thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, here, shall we do a cheers? Has everyone got a beverage with them of some sort?
Yeah. So, guys,
Cheers.
Oh, you're on the goats.
Everybody.
Nice.
To Jake, and to everyone out there who has their own special person out there.
And to everyone who's fighting their own battles and trying to stay positive and doing the right thing.
Cheers.
So, cheers.
Is it a much better place?